With functional managers to secure the best human resources possible for the duration required is probably the area that you're going to be negotiating the most. You're also going to be negotiating with other project management teams to assign scarce or specialized resources. They might have somebody that you really need. These people might be your peers in the project management sphere. This is why you have to align with them and don't alienate them, because then you can count on their support when necessary, or at least it'll make the negotiation a bit easier. Now, with external organization and suppliers for scarce, specialized, qualified, certified, or other team or physical resources, the same applies. It's even more challenging because you have to get involved in contractual arrangements. Now, my takeaway here is influencing skills and an understanding of politics are crucial. I suggest working for a matrix organization to increase these skills is beneficial. I suggest everyone, whether you're a project manager or not, should work in a matrix organization at some point in their career, because it shows you that when you have to get things done, but you don't own the resources, and you have to work through others to acquire them, your influencing skills increase exponentially. Now, here's an important concept, the concept of pre-assignment. This is selecting project team members in advance. In advance, you earmark, so to speak, we select team members and put them aside. This occurs when specific people are identified in a competitive proposal. This happens all the time, okay? In order to sell a consulting engagement, for example. Oh, we have the person for you. Well, that person has to be pre-assigned. Or when developing the project charter, when you're doing the project charter, hey, track down and document the resources that are necessary. Get the stakeholders to accept that. It makes your life a lot easier upon negotiation. A project depends on specific expertise owned by a particular person. Well, then, if that's the case, then pre-assignment is necessary, as mentioned. I have to note pre-assign resources wherever you can. Wherever you can, make sure you line up the resources, because it only helps you. Procurement negotiations clarify the structure, requirements, and other terms to facilitate mutual agreement prior to contract signing. That's real important. Why sign a contract that's legally binding if you don't know these items, if you don't have this clarity? Now, the final document language equals all agreements reached between the buyer and the seller. So that final document is considered to be a representation, codification of the agreements that you've reached. Now, negotiations conclude with a signed document or other formal agreement that can be executed by both buyer and seller. I'm going to add the words in a court of law. Negotiations should be led by the procurement team. I mentioned that already. I hope you have a procurement team. I'm praying you have a procurement team with the authority to sign contracts. I mean, the PM, project manager, and the project team members that are key to this whole thing, they should be present. Procurement team has the authority to sign contracts. That's who you hope exists to do that. That said, look at it in red. In the absence of a procurement department, because you're responsible, you as the project manager must do this. Where you see that is in immature organizations, growing organizations that might not be sophisticated enough or have the infrastructure or the funding to actually have a procurement department. The key thing, though, is your lawyers had better be at the table. You're not going to be writing legal contracts. You cannot do that. You don't have the expertise unless you're a juris doctor to be able to write contracts and actually make them legally binding. Bidder conferences are fascinating. These are also known as contractor conferences or vendor conferences or pre-bid conferences. And these are meetings between the buyer and prospective sellers prior to the submittal of a bid or proposal. And really, the idea behind them is to ensure prospective sellers have clarity and none receive preferential treatment. What I find interesting about them is you can strategize these in such a way that the people, the bidders, can actually be seeing each other, and it makes them uncomfortable, and a lot of times that'll drive price down.